Good afternoon and welcome to you, televiewers, this Sunday. It's another day we have to share our experiences about families. Another day we have to talk. And as you listen, you make your own contributions through the number on the screen. Family is all we have. Family, the story of our origin. We are here again to talk about family. Today, we are going to be sharing some interesting, some pertinent aspects of family, which all of us, why not, lived with our parents as we grew up, either in the village or in the towns or wherever we found ourselves. We are going to see how these aspects of our culture is being continued or discontinued in different families, and we are going to see how we benefited and how we can reinstate it. The program on the air, or the program you're listening to, is Family Life, and I am Tekla Suneba of the Family Life Service in the Diocese of Buea. Family Life is a program on the Divine Mercy radio, television that dwells on family matters, a conception and a production of the Family Life Service. Today we are going to be talking about storytelling in the family. Storytelling in the family. To share on storytelling in the family, which is an aspect of our custom, which in one way or the other transmitted our culture from generation to generation and then to us. And for that reason, we have some custodians of our tradition in the name of fathers who will be sharing with us on this aspect, storytelling in the family. So present with us, we have Mr. Mundi Joseph. Welcome, Mr. Mundi. Mr. Mundi Joseph is a parishioner of Regina Pacis Cathedral Parish, Small Sopo. He will be sharing with us what he heard from his parents, so long as storytelling is concerned. And as a teacher, he will be telling us again about these aspects of storytelling in our schools then and now. Present also is Mr. Neba Michael. Welcome, Daddy.
Thank you, Madam. It's usually my pleasure to be here, and especially today to talk on the topic, this wonderful topic that you did come up with, storytelling. We're going to recall how we lived it, and I'm already having that nostalgia of the yesteryears when we did go through such an art. Yes, so it is wonderful to be here.
Yes, Mr. Neba Michael is of St. John of God Parish,
Bonadikombo, Mile 4.
Yes,
that is in Limbe.
Yes, and one of the best parishes in the diocese.
That is it. Thank you.
Yes, and assisting us on the buttons is Kindness Njogo, and also for supervision we have Joyce Mbo. We welcome you all out there listening to us, and we hope that by the end of this as we used to learn, we used to learn a lesson from each story that our parents told, or each story that we heard in school. I hope that by the end of this day, we are going to learn something from the discussions concerning storytelling in the family. So today we are going to be listening and sharing with these two great men. Before we get to talk about storytelling in the family, Mr. Neba, can you please enlighten us a bit so that we understand the meaning of storytelling?
Yes, madam. Thank you. Storytelling is an interactive act, generally verbal interactive act, whereby a person or person usually tell or usually narrate tales, history, it can be events, to other people, and then they will usually listen and get these stories verbally, and generally they talk about places, things, or events. So globally, that is what storytelling is all about, and generally it is light-hearted. It is most of the time for entertainment. So it is something that is usually pleasurable, that we used to listen when we were young in those days when our parents used to tell us. So it is an as I said, an interactive verbal art where somebody will tell, narrate about tales, there may be fairy tales, events, or history, about countries, or different things. So those are the things how we used to follow in those days about storytelling.
Thank you very much for that enlightenment on the meaning of storytelling. Yes, Mr. Mundi, looking at storytelling, if you have something to add to what he has said, good. But I want to know if you can remember any of such moments, maybe with your parents, your mother or your father, or some elderly person in the compound, maybe in the village or in the town, narrating any kind of story to you. Can you remember any such moments?
Yeah, madam, thank you very much. Before coming to that, I want to add to what my brother has also said about the importance of this storytelling. I want to, first of all, make people understand that there has been a culture. It's not only for entertainment, there has been a culture as well as a lesson. It's a subject in school. Mm-hmm. And one of the tools we use in school in teaching children. And when you look at storytelling, you will see that it's something that it helps you to know the level of somebody's attentiveness. How you can it also helps you to know if somebody is that type of person who has that powerful retentive memory. Mm-hmm. It helps you in history. There are people who pass exam who do not know how to write baby just because they can't verbally tell you what happened. Mm-hmm. So it's not only about entertainment, but it is a subject, and it's one of the tools we're using in schools to teach children. And I want to say that it is high time. If we've come to this, I'm very happy. We are coming back to something which is very beneficial, and then we want to say that we have to go on. I thank you, the family life, for coming to this point. I never knew. Then coming back to your questions, if we ever had that. We grew up in a local village, and I grew up with grandparents. So I used to enjoy it so well. Used to enjoy storytelling very well. There are so many things I do today just because I learned from them. Because after everything, when they were telling those stories, at the end of the day, they would tell you the lesson behind it. So from that thing has helped me to be what I am today. So I think it is wonderful.
That is beautiful. I love to hear that stories teach people. It entertains, but it's in entertaining. Yeah. You learn something that sometimes even changes your life.
Actually,
yeah.
Okay, that's beautiful. I like that you can remember those moments when our parents used to tell us stories when we were children. Yes, Mr. Neba, can you remember any of those stories? Maybe that your father told you, or your mother, or somebody from home.
Yeah.
Yes, can you tell us briefly any of such stories?
Yes. Actually, I have a whole lot of those stories that our parents used to tell us, and also in school, as Mr. Mundi said, in school we actually had a lesson of storytelling. Yes, and as early as in class 1 primary school, we started telling those stories. That was in the school program, in the school curriculum. So every day there was that period. There was a period for storytelling. So we did have those stories, and you see, it's a long time ago that those things happened. You see, when you look at my age now, and if I'm recalling those things, you know that these are things that this storytelling we had in the 70s. When I'm talking about primary school, you should know that I'm talking about something that happened in the 70s, and they were beautiful stories, and I still remember them vividly. There is this particular one that I enjoyed very much, and that stayed in my head till today. That one can never leave me. That one, one of the stories which I enjoyed very much is this story about the birds and the tortoise. You know, when we were growing, the stories that our parents usually told us, for example, about the tortoise, it showed us about the intelligence of the tortoise. So this particular one goes as thus. I'll go very briefly. You see, in those years, the tortoise was very, very intelligent and cunning. An animal that was very intelligent and cunning. And at one time, that story went thus that all the birds on earth were invited to a feast in heaven, and the birds were to fly and go there. So it came to tortoise hearing that the birds have been invited to a feast in heaven, and tortoise said there is no way that he can stay without going to this feast. So he met these birds and talked to them and convinced them that they should come along with that he wants to come along. Finally, he was able, as I told you, he's very, very intelligent. He was able to talk to them so that they accepted that they thought that tortoise should come along. But tortoise had this problem of how he was going to fly to heaven, because tortoise never had wings. So he talked with them and proposed that they should borrow him their feathers, borrow him feathers. So all the birds accepted and borrowed tortoise feathers, and tortoise succeeded in making wings. So tortoise was therefore able to fly. After making his own wing, he was able to fly with all the birds to that feast in heaven. Along the way, as they were going, when they rested after flying for a very long time, because the story told us that to arrive heaven was very far. It was not an easy journey. So when they flew along about halfway gone, they decided to rest. So while they stopped to rest, tortoise came up with the idea that each bird should take the name. The birds, they had their names and all of that. So tortoise said that that they should recall their names. So all the birds, they were giving their names and all of that. So when it came to the turn of tortoise, tortoise gave his name as all of you. Tortoise said, I will be called all of you. So, and I know that when we arrive heaven, our guest is going to ask us to introduce ourselves. So when he asks us, let all of us introduce ourselves. Yes. So they accepted. So they continued. They flew and they arrived in heaven, and they were welcomed. So when they welcomed them and they sat them down, and then they started, the occasion started. Perhaps they had some drinks, they had a bit of entertainment. So when the real heavy entertainment came now, for their guests to entertain them, they first say, okay, let them introduce. No, before the feasting came, at one moment they were asked to introduce themselves. Yeah. So all the birds introduced themselves, and tortoise introduced himself at the last position. And tortoise said, my name is all of you. So the guests knew that, okay, that is the name of tortoise. So it did not call any attention to the guests and to the birds. They just knew that, okay, that's the name that tortoise had taken. So finally, when the heavy entertainment came, they brought food for their visitors, right? So now, when they brought the food and they said that, and they set the food on the table, they said that, okay, this is food for all of you. So tortoise said, okay, this is food for all of you. I am called all of you. So that food is for me. So tortoise went ahead and ate all the food alone. And the birds were very angry. They were so angry and they were hungry. So they were so angry that they would say, okay, let us leave. But now they said, now we cannot just live like that. Now we are going to revenge what tortoise has done to us. So each bird went past in front of tortoise and asked tortoise to give back his or her feather. So when all of them collected all their feathers, tortoise was left now in heaven without the wings to fly back to earth. And there he was blocked there in heaven. But tortoise begged these birds that, okay, now that people are flying back, I don't have wings, I cannot fly. When you go back, please, can you tell my wife that you should bring out all the soft things in the house, the mattresses, everything, so that I can jump from here. The birds at the beginning, they almost refused, but one of them, they said, no, okay, yeah, we are going to deliver that message. So when the birds left now, they say, okay, we are going to revenge this guy. This guy thinks that he's very, very intelligent and more intelligent than all of us. So when the birds arrived back on earth, they met tortoise's wife and told tortoise's wife that there is a very wild animal in heaven and that animal is threatening to kill tortoise. That he has asked that tortoise has asked that you should remove all the strong things, the wild things, that iron, everything, and put outside so that you should push that animal to fall. So the wife heard like that. The wife removed everything. Tortoise was observing from up there in the sky. When tortoise saw that they have removed everything, since the distance was very far, he could not actually know, but he saw that he could identify the thing, whether they were soft or how they were. So the wife, they removed stones, they removed spears, they removed cutlasses, axes, and put outside. And tortoise, you know what tortoise did? Tortoise jumped from heaven and fell on those hard things. And what happened? All his back, we know that tortoise is in the shell. Yes. So tortoise fell on on those hard things, and all of his back cracked. Okay, and the story ended by saying that is the reason why when you look at tortoise today with that his calabash, you see rough lines behind. Yeah. It was on that occasion that tortoise jumped from heaven and fell and cracked all that his back. So that is one very famous story that our parents told us. We heard them in school. This particular one was very, very famous about how the reason why the back of tortoise is the way it is today. So, and then that is one of them, and there are many other stories.
Yes. I think somewhere along the line, as a child, I also heard that story.
Yes,
that's how greedy people end up.
Yes. So, so in that story, you see there is a lesson there. Yes, when they told us, as Mr. Mundi said, every of those stories that they told us in those days, there was a lesson. Mm-hmm. This one, for example, it was telling us there is a lesson because you see. We see the greediness of the tortoise and the consequences of his greed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think to add to that, I want to say, if you look at leadership today in the world, you will see that such things are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people who come, especially when election is coming up. Mm-hmm. They go on campaigning, and they will say, if you do this for me, as we shall arrive there, I will do this for you. Yeah. And as soon as they succeed, getting over there, it becomes a different thing. I think that story has a lot of lessons in the whole show. Yeah. Because when you look at it, we are in difficulties. The world at large is suffering. Mm-hmm. Leadership issue. Yep. You see, there are people like I'm just coming from one of the occasion today. One of the sons of Mr. Neba Aftole, I'm a member of CMA. He's celebrating his first mass today. Yeah. And he has a lot of story. And when you all have story to tell, you will not have a lesson to pass to people.
Yes.
Unless you have a story to tell, you will never have a lesson. So then, sometimes you see our leaders of today with struggle. We walk in hand in group with them. When they reach over there, they have reached
just like
their thought.
That was campaign time.
Yes. Now is the real time.
So it is funny, and actually it has a lot of lesson actually. Yes. So anyhow, as I was saying, it is happening today, even in our various families. Yeah. It's happening. So what do we learn from there? For me, I feel that what we learn from there is if you want to work with people, walk in solidarity with the people. Don't deceive.
Yes.
Because when you deceive them at one moment, when you reach here, when they reach a certain point, they will allow you to abandon you.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, they haven't with you with what Mr. Tortis is going through now. Yes, they will abandon you and then you will suffer.
Yeah.
So don't deceive.
That is
Don't
it.
deceive.
Good.
So don't be cunning.
Yes.
That's
So
also-
yeah, exactly. You see, Tortoise was very cunning there.
Very cunning.
Because immediately they actually have you move along with them and you
Yes.
ate and you forgot about them.
And I pity that wife. I pity the wife. She never knew.
Now when the wife tumbled on all those
Yes.
things,
Yes.
and then he would start asking me, why did you people ask
Yeah.
me? Then they will narrate to her
They will narrate
what
to her
the
exactly
husband
what
did to
in,
them.
Yeah, in heaven.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's actually the end.
That is it.
Yes, because
Yeah.
finally the wife asked Tortoise that what happened. You know, and I'm sure Tortoise never even wanted to tell the wife
Yes.
the story. So the birds came back and told the wife exactly what Tortoise did to them in
Actually.
heaven. Yes.
So, and those stories used to mean a lot to us children.
Yes.
Because children learn when they are young
Yes.
more than when they are grown up.
Actually.
Yes.
Because the minds of children are absorbent. That's the absorb their contents.
Yeah.
They absorb the contents of their surrounding
Actually.
without any effort.
Yeah.
So when you put them together and tell them such teaching stories,
Yeah.
those stories, the meaning of those stories remain in them.
Actually.
And they even mock their friends
Actually.
Yes.
with the meaning of those. When
those
a
stories,
friend
when
is
it's
greedy,
yes.
and in the end the friend has a mishap because of his or her greediness, they
Yes.
say, yeah, na so una dey trucky.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see?
Yes.
So it remains in them.
No,
Actually,
exactly. You know, because of that stories, some children in school who were a bit stingy or let's say a bit
Yeah,
selfish,
yeah.
we finally gave them the name of
Trocky.
of Trocky.
Yes.
That's how we're calling them. That you are just behaving like the tortoise.
Somebody is reacting here.
Yes.
Hello, I'm getting the phone from Daddy's story about Trocky.
Yes.
And sorry, there's this saying, this famous saying that he who is alone must be ready to fight alone.
Yes.
It's still there's a story, a very short story that I read.
Yes.
That of the goat and the dog when they were going for a journey.
Correct.
Yeah. So the Mr. Dog asked, since they had a basket of food, Mr. Dog asked the goat to carry this basket.
Yeah.
So as they were carrying the basket, they were going somewhere along the line. There was this terrible hunger.
Yeah.
So now, instead of the dog to say, let us eat the food together, he took the food from the goat and ate alone. Abandoned the goat. Now the goat now was carrying the empty container, empty basket. So
That's always be
he could not even, Mr. Goat too could not even say anything since he's
Yeah.
angry. You know, dog is wild. A dog is
They're
more
very
wild
wild.
than the goat.
So
No,
perhaps he was afraid of the dog.
So
Yes.
then, after some time, as they were going along the journey, there became the moment whereby there was an attack by a beast, and then this a lion jumped from the bush. When the lion jumped and came in, he was now chasing by the dog, and then the lion did not have time to chase the goat.
chase the
This a gentleman.
Yes.
Let me follow by this guy. So this dog now was now crying and say, "Help me, goat! You are allowing me to die alone." And then the goat say, "He is alone must be ready to fight alone."
Fight alone.
So that's how the story is. So thank you so much.
Yes. You see those stories.
They always have
Yes.
a message to pass across.
Yes,
Strong
a message always went across with it. And then first of all, it was entertaining. Because those stories, I'm telling you, when those stories I took, for example, the one we just narrated, generally they were told in the evening, in the kitchen, just as Mr. Moni, we grew up in the village.
Yeah.
You see, at that time, there was no electricity.
Electricity.
So there was only, we used bush lamps. And then in the evening, when our mother is cooking, our father will be with us in the kitchen, and then they are telling those stories. They tell those stories around the
Fireside.
Yes.
They have roasting corn or eating
Yes,
some groundnut.
roasting corn, eating fresh groundnuts and all of that. It was so wonderful.
Yes.
You know, when they prepare the groundnuts, you get the aroma coming from the groundnuts. Then there's corn, and then there's a good story along. It
That's
was
life.
Nobody
it was so enjoyable, you know.
Yes,
It was so enjoyable.
See, though I grew up in Limbe,
Yep.
my father was a storyteller.
Okay.
Yes, even those who took part in his funeral, they saw we wrote on his funeral booklet,
Yeah.
The storyteller,
Yeah.
the man of peace.
Yeah.
That's how we called him.
Good.
He was either the
Yeah.
storyteller or the man of peace, because he
Yes.
was very peaceful. No matter what you do to him,
Yeah. There was
he will always tell everybody around, don't bother. Even if you are pushing him to react,
Yes.
he will say, no mind. That was always his statement.
Yeah, sure.
No mind.
Yeah. That is it.
Just leave them. You see, so no matter what you do to Pazante, waiting that he will react, Pa will never react. He is always gentle.
Yeah, gentle and always
He
telling
will
us
start telling
stories.
you a story which is related to that thing which is happening.
Yes.
He always told stories. He would
Yes.
tell stories until he will get up and start dancing. How they used to dance in the village during particular seasons, during cultural festivals. He always had stories.
Yeah. Yes. It's something that you are bringing up there. One aspect of those stories that we heard in those years, most of them had songs.
Yes.
Very beautiful
Accompanied
songs,
by songs.
accompanied by very beautiful songs. So it is
Actions.
So,
Yes.
yes.
So he would
Yes.
tell
So the parents
the story,
that used to tell those stories, to sing and
sing
dance.
the song,
And
and
dance.
teach
Dance.
us the song.
Yeah.
Yes.
And tell us to dance the song with him. So we have to get up and start dancing. I tell my mother would say, all these speaking they go come start to behave like you. So those things were very beautiful. At times, if our mother goes to deliver, we'll be very happy, because when our father is cooking, he will put all the meat, all the fish, and then as we are eating, he is telling stories.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting, because when he tells you the story, at the end of the story, he tells you the lesson from the story.
Yeah.
And then he will relate it to what is happening at that particular time that we are there.
Yeah.
So those things had great messages which they passed
Actually.
across.
Yes.
Madam, if you can think by, you see that this thing is storytelling. There are many texts, many things, many books are written. There are stories now.
Yes.
Yes.
There are stories.
Yes.
If you can still remember, you see that time whereby your father used to tell the story, people were always together, more together than today.
Yes,
The stories
sure.
are not there.
Sure.
You
It
were
was
always
some
together,
sort of
and yes.
a unifying factor.
Actually, it was unifying factor
in the
Actually,
family.
and
Yes.
it brings people together. You sit and you talk together. You see, there is you will not have that issue of somebody thinking something else different.
Yes.
You are united. There's solidarity.
Yes, one
you
mind.
People, there's one mind.
Yes.
and everybody is like trying to see. There is that test of attentive attention.
Yes.
You see who can listen the story very well. I think
Yes.
there was always that story, that spirit.
Yes.
Whereby, let me listen to the story. Who can tell the story?
Because
I think,
because you
yeah.
have, because in school you have to tell your own
the
story.
story.
So
Yes.
those children whose parents told them entertaining stories always
Beautiful
had
stories.
stories to tell in school.
School, yes.
Actually,
You see.
Yes.
actually.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I said from the beginning that I don't know whether it's still there today. Perhaps Mr. Mundi is going to tell us
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we can come
In
to that.
school, in those years, can you imagine? As early as class 1 primary school, we were telling stories, because the school program, they had storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to assure you, I will not absent from school, because I knew that I'm
the
going to
second
hear
day,
I'm going to hear a beautiful story in school.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was the same for other children. So it was some sort of a motivating factor, some sort of a captivating factor for children in those days to stay in school, because they knew that when you go to school, you are going to hear beautiful stories. And we had a teacher, a class 1 primary school teacher, Teacher Maurice. He's of late. He was also a wonderful storyteller. So
Correct.
he pulled our attention, so that every time we wanted to be in school, in order not to miss his wonderful stories.
Yes, and these stories which you enjoyed from your father, you enjoyed from Teacher Maurice, have you in any way tried to be telling your own children such stories?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's a bomb now.
Yes, madam. Sure. I will tell you that it has not been very, very easy. But me in particular, I have been trying,
Oh, that's
from time to time, because I always have this policy. I converse with my children. So there are times they themselves, they start telling me their own stories now. And then I will profit too, because for some time we will see that we have been drifting away from this culture. So, but when my children come and they are telling me their own stories now, as these stories go along with their friends, there are times I will recall my own stories of the youth. And there are times I tell them these stories. You know, they will be happy about it, but one moment they will say, hey, Daddy, those are your stories of these days. They are no longer
ancient
stories. Exactly, they call the ancient stories. They will tell you, Daddy, those stories are not applicable again today. So they will want me to follow their own stories. Now they are telling us today. So, but yes, from time to time, I try to tell them some of those stories. And at times, when you tell them, they listen, but they will just laugh over it. They will just take it only for entertainment. But I always try to make sure that I'll tell them that, you see, there is a lesson there because of this story, because those stories are really many. So I do try to see if I tell them, and I think there are times they are happy about it too.
Yes, and there was one time I heard you talk about the stories in school.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, Mr. Mundi,
Madam,
before we used to have these stories in school. Now you are a teacher. We would like to know from you if these stories are still being told in school as a subject or having its own period, not like a teacher improvising to bring up the stories. Is it like before when storytelling was part of the curriculum? Is it still the case now?
Yeah, Madam, I'm very happy that this one is coming up. Factually, I would like to tell you that for my whole time of being as a teacher in school, I've come to realize that storytelling in school today is teacher-centered.
Okay.
Teacher-centered. The children, they don't have they don't have that chance. It is not even given to the children. I just feel there's something wrong. Because most of the stories, that's what we're using in teaching. But it comes from the teachers. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. When you look at it, you see that it's teacher-centered and not the child-centered. It's coming back from the teacher. Mm-hmm. So then, by so doing, I say there's something wrong. If you look at it under the curriculum, you will see that it is a lesson, the subject in school. Mm-hmm. And it's like as earlier said, it is one of the factors we are using in teaching. You see, we teach so many of our lessons in story form. Yes, and in play form and so on. So, but I feel that there's something wrong. I don't know if I can just even point out. Mm-hmm. Where I'm seeing it is a problem is that, formally, we had that notion, and the day the story was flowing, that story was being told in all languages. Mm-hmm. That is where the problem now lies. But today, if a child doesn't know English, you have a story you can tell in your own dialect, it is not welcome. Mm-hmm. Because the teacher will tell you, we're not understanding. Are you people understanding? Say no. So that thing is discouraged now. That's where you have that discouragement now. Mm-hmm. Then we have also the type of environment where these children grew. There are some of them who grew, they don't even know. They may not even have a story. Mm-hmm. Environment too is one of the problems. And then you look at it, you see the type of teacher. Older teachers have better stories than the younger teachers. Mm-hmm. You can still remember, as you said, that your father, if you look at it, that is on time, you will see that time that your father used to tell you that story, there were people of younger age than him who could not even know the story.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, age too matters. Either people will have better story to tell. Except one too is it's a very interesting type of a person. Someone who's having a lot of interest and intelligent somebody. Then to look at some of the factors, what we call today, how do we call it? this Android thing.
Yes, so, social media.
This
Social
Android
media.
Yes.
The attention have been shifted
Yes.
from the real thing whereby we don't have practical thing being done,
Yes.
but to this artificial thing that are being done now.
Mm-hmm.
So people are not in their real nature to be telling stories, but they depend on what they see from the telephone, from what they see. They concentrate on those things, and so this is one of the things I could like say. That is one of the factors. If children are being given the chance in school to tell the story in their own dialect, you look for some children who can understand the dialect, who come from the same tribe, and say, okay, from this story, what is the story all about? Then you are motivating the child, inspiring the child, and then giving the child the go ahead. But just because you don't know the child's dialect or know what like that, as I'm talking about the language is a problem too. And then the teacher, the type of teacher too, where you taught this in during your formation period, like teachers go to the training schools.
Yes.
When they come back, I know in the training school they do better. When they say they should write a story, they come and tell a story, they do it. But to come and pass the message on, to transfer that message to the student, it is not done. So there's something wrong. Thank you.
Yes, and somebody is reacting here that he's very happy about it, and he needs to implement it in his home.
Wow.
So he needs to begin the aspect of storytelling in the home.
Okay. Yeah, if I should add something there concerning that question, you asked whether today is it still moving in schools, whether it's still a lesson, whether they still do this storytelling. I don't know, as Mr. Mundi as he was just saying, if we from his answer is showing that perhaps it is dying. Yes, but I just want to bring back to just say a bit here, as far as this storytelling was concerned in our times, in the 70s, in the 80s, we went through primary school, it was participatory. You see, storytelling was participatory. It was both from the teacher and the students. And the students were given the chance to come up and tell their stories. If you remember, this famous statement that we used to hear, you remember when we were in primary school, when we were growing as we grow up, you always hear, the students will always come, and when you're passing through the school compound, during storytelling, you always hear, boys and girls, I want to tell you my story. Yes, we are happy to hear your story. What is your story about?
Yeah.
You see,
they used to start with Arabian Nights
Good.
entertainment.
Good. So you see, it was participation. Every child told a story.
Actually.
And some of them were so eloquent that they told these stories. They were beautiful stories. And they were actually enjoyed. And we actually enjoyed them. So, at first, we said it was participatory, and everybody was concerned, and everybody contributed, and everybody enjoyed it.
Yes,
so
and when you want to tell your story,
yes,
you have to know what your story is about.
Good.
So it helps children even to be able to make a summary of
their story.
My story is about John and Mary.
Good.
My story is about
this
tortoise and the birds.
Yes.
So
good.
The topic.
So the children could come up with a topic from the story which they are about to tell.
Yes.
And then it made children to be able to talk.
Yes, to talk in public. Exactly. That's one of the benefits that we were to say. That if some of us are able to talk today in public, is thanks to storytelling that we went through
from home to classroom.
Yes.
Good. But now you go to a school, sometimes an SP is ashamed of talking.
Yes,
it's true.
What
Madam is saying is that an interesting topic is a call for attention. In
Yeah.
An interesting topic. When you make a topic of your story to be that one that's very interesting, lively, you call the attention for the listener. I think that is what Madam is saying. I like it.
Yes.
And sometimes there were some children in our classroom when they want to tell their story. Yeah. Everybody drops everything that he's doing
and pays attention and listen because
they always have stories,
beautiful stories.
Yes, and sometimes their stories are not even these fictions. Their stories are experiences either from the farm, either how they went and they were hunting a rat mole, and some interesting types of things like that. Actually. Yes. Sometimes some children told a story when I was in primary school until I followed my father once to the farm. My father was going to the farm. We went to the farm and I just enjoyed everything that he was doing, and it happened that we saw a rat mole. And my father started following this rat mole. The rat mole entered a hole and then my father went and took a stick and blocked that hole
Yeah.
and started looking for another hole around that area.
Around the area, yes.
When my father saw another hole around that area, my father took a bunch of grass
Good.
and lit it with fire and went
Yes.
and put it
And
on
sent
that
smoke.
on that
And
hole
sent smoke.
and
Yeah,
sent
and
smoke
smoke
inside that
into the
hole.
hole.
And then
Yes.
came back to this other hole which he had blocked now and
And
opened
opened. And
and
then-
stood there with a cutlass and
Until-
gave me a stick. and
And
gave
then
me a
finally-
stick.
and
I went and
finally-
stood at the other end. I was waiting for that.
Yeah. And finally, the rat mole came
Yes,
out.
the rat mole came out. My mother was at the other end walking home. My father and I were there.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
followed
yeah.
until my father and I caught that rat mole.
Yes. Yeah,
I'll never
that's
forget that story.
Yes.
I too went to school and told my story.
Story, how-
my father and I
Haunted
hunting a rat
rat
mole.
mole. Good. So that will
Then
make an
when
interesting
those children
story.
come and they are telling their story, I'm telling you, you cannot do any other thing.
So,
Yes.
madam, then you can see that storytelling is a tool.
Yes.
It's a weapon.
Yes.
It is.
It's a subject.
It is. It is.
It is life is in itself.
So
Yes.
what in addition to what Mr. Mundi has said, that is social media
Yeah.
which has
Distracting.
caused all this, but social media just came before social media. How did it start before it's getting today to social media, Mr. Neba?
Yeah.
Did social media just come and
just,
destroy our
destroy it
storytelling culture or
Completely.
did it start
No.
from somewhere? How?
Yes, it did start from somewhere. But otherwise, even seeing the social media today that it has destroyed it today. Let me just go back a bit and we see how it actually started. First of all, I told you that, for example, in the village, we never had electricity. Okay, there was no electricity, so there were only bush lamps and all of that. So things like what existed in the village those days, there was the radio, and the radios those they were using battery, so you could only listen to the radio and then using the battery. Gradually, electricity came in, and when electricity came in, the first televisions started coming. And television falls in that social media. The first televisions started coming in. When the televisions started coming in, it was an attraction, a serious attraction. So we started looking at the television. Unfortunately for us, what was it in that television that actually attracted us? This they call it
Cartoons.
cartoon. Well,
Yes.
that is the word. Cartoons started coming in.
Yes, I
Yes.
can remember very well.
Cartoons started coming in, and then those cartoons they were so attractive to little children.
Yes.
And take note that the stories of these cartoons were these stories that our parents were telling us.
Yes, we're
That
calling
the
it
white man,
poku poku.
yes. So the white man had already gone now and started putting it in the form of those cartoons. They brought them to us. So in a village, you could have just one television. Once that television came on, every child will start going there. Even the parents were going to that television. So gradually, it started killing that spirit of our own traditional stories. So actually, it is the social media, but it did not just come in like what we have today, where everybody is on it. So it came gradually through the television, and then through those cartoons. Then now they added some other things. Then films started coming in, and then gradually you see, as we're focusing on them, we were pulling gradually away from our own culture of that storytelling into the social media.
Yes, so
Up
this
to where
main
we
media
are.
already
Yes.
took us away before the
yes.
social media
Yeah, yes.
is
Yeah.
Came and just
shattered.
put the
Everything
final nail
on the head.
on the head. Until today, all our children, you find
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
there on the phone and
on the
everything.
phone.
So
Now,
it is so,
this is the situation.
yes.
What do you advise, or what is your idea, or what do you think that we can do to reinstate this aspect of our culture, a storytelling which is destroying this closeness, because it is just going gradually, and as it is increasing, that's how family is staying apart, separating
Yes.
from each other.
Yes, just not
is it.
disintegrating even the family.
Yes.
Families.
Yes. So,
What can we do? Just tell us those practical things, ideas that we can start implementing in our families to bring this culture that will keep our children back close to us and warm us as they used to warm around the fire?
Madam, let me just start to chip in the small thing, a little thing I have as my own contribution. I would like to make people understand that language or dialect should not be a barrier. Teachers who are teaching in school allow the children to tell the story in that dialect.
Yes. One
If you
other
don't-
child in that
yes,
class can
yes.
translate it.
If you cannot understand the story, use the other children of that tribe, and then gradually you get to know the story. And because when you look at it, you see that most of our children, when they come to exam, you see that they cannot apply what they've learned because they are not used to storytelling. Because it is going to help them to have that retentive memory. You see, what is history? It's storytelling. Then if you are not interested in storytelling, how will you know history? So then I would like to say that language, there shouldn't be that language barrier. We should not take language as a barrier. If it's a language is a barrier, use a code. Use language code. What do I mean? You can use other children, as I'm saying, children of the same tribe, and then they'll tell the story. You understand the story. Gradually, that one is going to go. Then families too as well. Families, they should create time for storytelling. The families.
Yes.
Those of us sitting here know it's not going to be easy. Our children, they are more inclined to this phone thing. But we should create time for storytelling. And when you create time for storytelling, you, the parent, you have to be there. You say,
Sure.
on Monday, on Saturdays, from this time we have storytelling. Everybody come to the table. I think it's going to help us move ahead.
If you don't have any story to tell, share us your
Actually.
your events for the day. How did you live the day?
Yes.
Share it with us. From there, we'll gradually start developing our minds on
The
listening
teachers-
to others and telling our own stories.
Actually, the teachers who are in school, I think you are seeing that we are lacking too. This story should not become a teacher-centered, as I said from the beginning. This story to give chance to the children. There's no child that is born without storytelling, without a story. There's no child born dull. As well, I would say there's no child that is born without story. Every child has a story.
Yeah.
Yes, all the children we have them, they have their stories. The story should not only come from the teacher. Teacher, you have a story, but let's create them. And when you are sometimes we talk of listening comprehension, something of that nature. It's a listening comprehension type of thing now.
Yes, listening comprehension.
Yes, if a teacher is practical, that is, you read a story, come and transform the message or transfer the message to the children uphead, rather than reading from the book.
Yeah.
The children will take it more serious, and they are going to learn it. I think that is one of the things I just wanted to say. We can do that. We should create interest in storytelling.
Yeah.
Let it become a subject again. Let the power that be bring it back as a subject.
Yeah, it's actually our culture. You see,
Yes.
there was this choir when we were growing up, the Manfe Youth Choir International. I don't know if you remember, if any of you. Storytelling is part of our culture.
That
We
is it.
must always retell to our children the history of our forefathers, for it is part of our culture. That's the Manfe Youth Choir used to sing this song. And even it is from this song that I even tried to have a hint of how they got the name
That's great.
Kumba. You see, they sang, and at one point they said, one day a hunter came from nowhere. His name was Makumba, and the white man couldn't call it well, but simply called it Kumba. And that is how we got the name of our town, Kumba.
Wow.
Storytelling is part of our
I like
culture. So we used to sing that song
Yes.
from the Manfe Youth Choir. It was all over the place here.
Okay.
So most children who grew up in Southwest,
Yes.
they know that
They
song.
know that. Yes.
So this storytelling
storytelling.
is not something we should be
Yeah.
passive.
Yes.
It's our culture.
Yes.
It's a
yes.
culture.
It
Let's
is
So
a
we
culture.
shouldn't let it die.
Yes.
There should
yes.
be some competition too for storytelling.
Good.
Yes.
That is the way.
There should be
That-
story. Even within the, sometimes we talk of cultural week and so on. It should be part of culture actually.
Yes, good.
So I think
So we should have storytelling
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
part of our
Of our
culture.
culture,
That is beautiful. So we'll all promote and see that it happens. Maybe if we
Yes.
have storytelling as part of our culture, parents will teach their children.
Yeah.
They'll tell them stories so that when they come for the competition, they will win handsome prizes
Yes.
and go back with it to their
Yes.
homes. So
Yes.
Sorry
we
for-
promise you we are going to come up with this competition
Yeah,
storytelling.
Yes, and just to chip in something there, you see, if you don't work hard for something, you can never achieve it. Because what I see is that we, the parents, we have surrendered. The social media has beaten us, comes down, and we are just there. We have surrendered, and we are allowing our culture to go away. It is carrying our culture away. So I think that if we parents, we say that we want to bring it back, we should take the measures and implement it and bring it back. I will say, for example, I was watching a program, I think I saw it still on the social media, where a town, I don't know, I think it is in Japan, where the social media has eaten into the culture of the people, and at one moment, and then even the intelligence, even the education of the children, the social media is disturbing.
Actually.
So the authorities of that town have decided that every evening, 1 hour, all the houses, they should put off their television.
Yes, yes.
I saw something like that on the social media, and that during that 1 hour, all the households, they have agreed, and it has become a law. 1 hour every evening, I think they say from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. All the houses, they switch off everything concerning television and social media, and at that moment, the children learn. The parents stay with their children and they converse with them.
That's
and
great.
you see, and it is yielding fruit. So if why can we not institute such a measure here? We said, okay, perhaps once a week we'll switch off all the television, and during that time, let parents tell their stories with their children.
Yes.
And as such, they will be able to tell those stories, and our culture is going to come back. So I think that's one
if
of
you
the
say
methods
that,
they
if
can-
you
they
say
can
that
do that.
here, they will
Yes.
tell you that you cannot go into people's privacy,
Yes.
and it's because we don't know the value
Of-
The value.
of
Yes.
our culture.
Culture, yes.
We don't attach value to
Yes.
our culture.
Yes.
Yes, we attach value to westernization, to freedom.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Good.
If even us, even the leaders, we attach a lot of value to freedom.
Freedom.
Yes, freedom is good, but the freedom should be freedom of the mind,
Yes.
not freedom into unfruitful.
Unfruitful days.
Yes. Yes. Grant freedom such that
Activities.
freedom that can bring
Freedom that benefits.
yes, that can bring
Benefit,
development.
Yes.
Yes, those are the things that we're
Freedom that
looking
benefits.
for.
Yes.
Just imagine
if you
we can
mention
bring
that
it
now,
into
just know that they will tell you that you cannot get into people's privacy.
No,
Yes.
it is that's I just told you that this is done in a developed country.
Yes.
A country like Japan. It's because they have seen what destruction, what danger the social media is having on their children. Because because when this happened, what happened? They after some time they gave the result that when they started implementing this measure, they noticed that the marks of the children
Increased.
the performance of the children in school has increased. Children were having marks of around 50%. They are now on around 70 to 80% once they implemented those measures of closure of the TV and asking the children to study. So now, is it not
And
beneficial?
parents keep
Yes.
a company.
Yes, and parents
Their
keep
children.
the company, yes, and discuss with the children. I think by so doing, you develop the mind of the children and all of that. So I
Yes.
think that it is something beneficial that.
Yeah, and if the broader setup cannot do, you take the responsibility for your family.
Yes,
After all,
you can do
your
that for
family is your responsibility.
Yes, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, if it is a difficult thing for the broader setup to
Yes.
do,
Yes, if you
take
you
your
can start it
family
somewhere.
Yeah.
and start it from there.
Yes.
Like somebody has said, more grace. This is a wonderful idea. We will see that it begins in our family. Mr. William Come. Thank you, and we are getting you. Yeah, we pray that it begins in many families.
We really think that families should take that responsibility
Yes,
and
take
start
the
something.
bull by its horn.
Yes, because if we don't do it, we will just stay there talking
Yes.
and crying that our children are going wayward.
And they will be
social
going.
media is carrying them up. It will keep on carrying them. We should bring back those values, those family values.
Yes.
Because I think that the culture is a family value,
Yes.
which we need to handle.
We need to handle,
This
we need
issue
to
of-
reinstate.
Yes.
Yes.
What about this issue of this Android phone thing, type of thing too? Yes, Android phone thing. I think It is. It came for something good. And
Yes, and it
but-
is good,
yeah,
but
it's
now it's
wrongly
for
used.
us
Yeah, it's
to
bringing a lot of,
to choose the way it will be used
It will
in
be
our
used.
homes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we should be
Yes,
because-
so every home they will take their responsibility and see that they manage the usage of Android
because-
phones or every media facility
Yeah,
in their
madam, I have these
homes.
difficulties. I don't know how. I don't know what is on there with me. This our children as I'm talking. This Android
It's
phone.
not only you. It's
not
because
Android phone.
it's because you are here and you can share.
Wow.
Yes.
But
It is
many
like that.
families are in this problem, but all of us together we begin from somewhere, and where we have difficulties we share our challenges and we learn from each other how we can handle this situation. We thank all of you out there who have been watching. Mr. Neba Michael Shu
Yeah,
will give
thank
you
you.
1 second for a word, your last word to our viewers.
All we can say is that let the families let them make an effort to start implementing or bringing back this issue of storytelling, because it is a unifying factor in a family, and it is very, very beneficial it will certainly be beneficial to the families.
Yes, thank you very much. We need to build that unifying factor. So families, be very careful. The family is under attack. And the social media is a tool for this attack. And storytelling is the counter tool that will help bring the families back together. Thank you very much, Mr. Neba. Yes, Mr. Mundi,
No,
your last word to our viewers.
I wish to thank Divine Mercy and most especially the family life for this wonderful thing that is coming up all about the family. I say more grace we are able, and I promise that as soon and as much as these things are coming up, we shall all be sharing it together. And to you over there who are listening to us, we might have not done the best, we might not have done all. We are just starting.
Yeah, sure.
And it is also your chance. Don't know it's because we are sitting here. You can still send in some what your own idea, your own contributions.
Yeah.
And I want as well to call on my colleagues, the teachers and the educational family, that they should look into this issue. I think if it is beneficial, they should try to make sure it is benefit. I mean, it goes down and it goes deep into the children. And I want to thank my CMA member over there. I want to thank my CMA member there. I was with them yesterday for the ecclesiastical provincial seminar in Kumba. I promised them that today would be online. Family life is having something very rich enough for them. So I thank God. I think they're sitting and watching.
Okay,
And
thank you.
they are as well going to be contributors and so on. Thank you very much, because
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mundi. We thank all those who are out there viewing us now, because if we don't protect family, we have nothing else to protect. When we protect family, family will in turn protect every other aspect of our being. We thank you out there for watching. We thank all those who have made their contributions. We thank Mr. Mundi, especially. We thank Mr. Neba. We thank them all for taking this time off to spend with us and share their contributions. We thank our lady on the buttons, Kindness Njogu. It's been great.
Wonderful.
And we thank our supervisor, Joyce Mbong. For me, Tekla Neba, I'm so grateful.
You are our pride.
Family is all we have.
You are our pride.
Family, the story of our origin.
Origin.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Wow.